How's that? Islands of the Solomon Islands by province. And there's your provinces on the side. I think it's 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9. Yep. And, yeah. There's all your named islands, and trust me, there's plenty of not named islands. So anyway, I've been working on the Solomon Islands plan to find out that one newspaper I'm dealing with is bloody hopeless. They will not even bother replying, and lo and behold, I turned out that there's more than one newspaper. In fact, I'm just flicking through them now. There's 4 different newspapers. One of them, I think, is only on Sundays. Another one of them was supposed to have an online version, but they've scrapped their online version and just used their normal website for it. Yeah. Been flicking through a few things, looking at some of this gear, but anyway. Talk a little bit more about some of the things with the Solomon Islands. You may notice I'm in a different house at the moment. Just turn my modem off here. Yeah, so anyway, it's might only be an hour away or so from Australia, but an hour and a half away, but there's things are very different in many respects. It's still, you know, it's not second world, it's more or less third world, and it has all the hallmarks of the same shenanigans that you find in a lot of Asia and a lot of poor Asian countries as a result. And I've been reading a little bit about some of the different bits and pieces, just sit down here, that have been going on in these joints and whatnot. There's newspaper articles on it. Of course, you've got all these places like, you know, United Nations and all that in there trying to push a lot of feminist agenda and a lot of crapola. But while they don't need third wave feminism there, they could at least do with bare bones basic feminism, you know, really speaking, because girls are, and it's not a question, it's just a fact in these areas, a lot of them are second-class citizens, but there's a lot of stuff that goes on, the same as in Asia. In Asia, it's more scammers that find an easy way to get out of doing a real job. You may have heard of these Filipino girls who chat to guys online and then ask for $1,000 to fly over to visit the United States or Europe or wherever their prospective, possibly older man falling in love with them is. Now that $1,000 is what they'd earn in 2 months or more. In fact, I think it's actually about 6 months worth of work, or at least 2 months. I didn't know exactly. Your standard Philippine factory worker's wage. And so they just find it's easier to spend time on the internet and get sent money and, yeah, basically don't have a job and live far higher than everybody else. I'll go on a bit about some of these bar girls and things like this, but it appears that they exist in the Solomon Islands too, but it's they don't quite have the upper hand that they may have in other parts of Asia. Now, I've had somebody tell me that maybe I should just hop on a plane and just fly over there. Well, you know, I've got a cat to feed, I've got a job that needs to know that I'm going, and I've got to take malaria pills 2 weeks in advance for going, and, you know, book a ticket plus a return ticket. It's one of these countries where you've got to have a return ticket, otherwise they don't even let you in the country, which is fairly common, or some on ticket, whether it go to New Caledonia or frickin' Tonga or Papua New Guinea or back to Australia or whatever. Yeah, the bar girls there don't really have quite the upper hand that they may do in Asia. And I'm not just sort of going to hop on a plane and enter a bloody malaria area without, getting appropriate medication and stuff arranged beforehand. And as I said, you've got to take it 2 weeks before you leave. In Asia, it's not unknown that there's a lot of dodgy girls, and Philippines has been a hot spot for some of this stuff, and the biggest hot spot is probably Thailand. I believe that Vietnam is headed in the same direction, and I've been told that the same thing happens in Guam by a subscriber actually who saw all this when he was in the Navy. It's one of these things. It's one of these things. You got guys over there who are. You got guys over here who are. Oh, let's face it. It's not so much that they're desperate as just plain fucking stupid. Honestly. And you can say, oh, well, they're desperate, so they sort of, and there may be a bit of willful ignorance out of desperation there, but in essence, there's plenty of them that are just dumb. And they go over there and, there's these bar girls that are all lined up. Oh, I met a nice girl at a bar and blah, blah, blah. I worked at a place and they were talking amongst themselves of another guy who was on holidays. I was filling in for... Different people had their holidays all around one point, and I was filling in for, one person and then a different person in different areas of this place for probably, 5 6 weeks there. And they mentioned one guy who went over there and found a bar girl, but she wasn't a bar girl. She worked in the bar, so somehow it was all legitimate that she actually was the girl behind the counter pouring the drinks. And that made it so much more legitimate. Don't know that it did. And then all of a sudden, he's got a kid to this girl, and he used to have a very cheesy looking moustache. Apparently, I never met the guy, but then they asked, did the baby come out with a little moustache? Stuff like this. Well, in Thailand, many of these bar girls are playing 12 different guys at once, at the same time. And you get all these dickheads, my bar girl's different. No. They're all the same. They're all scammers. They hang around these bars because they know that white foreign men are going to be there. And they're not dumb. And, there's another little injection that they buy, just a little syringe injector thing that they inject into their stomach, and it costs them around about equivalent of $20. It doesn't cost them a great deal of money at all. This injection is like some sort of a slightly toxic thing or whatever, some irritant or something like that, and it causes their belly to swell up. Now, they get this from the same guy that's dealing fucking crystal meth or whatever. And it causes their belly to swell up. Then they play the whole, oh, baby, I've gotten pregnant, blah, blah, blah. I need money to buy baby things. And, if you don't believe it and think it's Photoshop, you can fly over there and you'll see she's actually got a belly stuck out in front of her. But you want to get a proper pregnancy test, and particularly one from a doctor. And if she gets the jump on and gets all full of excuses, you'll know it's one of those injections. And, they try a lot of bullshit. If you're not going to fly over, they end up, quote unquote, having the baby, so then there's hospital fees to pay, but then the poor little bugger died within hours of being born, so now we've got to pay death taxes, boom, 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 boom. Some of these dickheads, they milk another $1,200 alone out of them just on that basis of a baby's hospital fees, and then it's death taxes and all this other bullshit. and funeral director, and the fucking coffin and the blah 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 blah, and then you get sent a couple of photos that really could have been anyone's fucking funeral somewhere over there. And if you do a reverse image search, you may find they're actually somebody else's funeral photos that are on Facebook. This is the thing, the cons. But coming back to the Solomon Islands, it's a little bit different. Oh yeah, by the way, how do they get the swelling to go down? They buy another $20 injection, boom, that clears them of the irritant or whatever it is, and the swelling goes back down again. They can buy both the thing that causes the swelling and the thing that brings down the swelling. How would I know this? British expat living in Thailand wrote about it on his blog. And this is like 5 years ago I read this. So yeah, but back to the Solomon Islands. There it's a bit different. It seems that a lot of the cases it's older foreign men going for younger girls and stuff like that. And some of these girls, it's really, this article is off one of these newspapers that I was reading just before. Almost definitely it's older foreign men. And the idea is that they're going for older foreign men with money. Now, I mean, that's just like Captain Obvious. But some of them hang around the bars and the nightclubs in Honiara. But it sort of goes further than there, because you got to realise that this is truly a really poor country, and sometimes it's actually the parents who want them to go. They often want to go out on their own just for their own money, but there are some islands and some situations and some people who, it's sort of, the parents know about it. And in fact, the parents actually encourage it. And it's not just in the bars and the nightclubs. In fact, surprisingly enough, it's in the logging camps as well. Now, over there are two major industries that other people in other countries are fairly interested in. One being large-scale tuna fishery. The Japanese have got their teeth into that. They do actually have a cannery. It got flooded out. It's running again. It only makes canned fish for local consumption at the moment. Originally it was exporting a lot to Japan. They might have to jump through a few technical hoops and bits and bobs to, repass stuff before they can export to Japan again. And I've seen videos on some of the boats, and holy shit, fully robotic arms and all this to pull the blooming nets up, and it's all just sit in the cabin and press the button, and depth standers and the whole 9 yards. And so tuna is a big industry there. The other one that's a big industry is logging, and there's plenty of Asians that have got their teeth in on that, particularly Malaysia, and also plenty of Australians that have got their nose into that. Now, in these logging camps, of course, you're on an island. There's obviously villages on this island, and some of these local young girls, might be able to go up there and see Dad, who works in the logging camps, and often enough, the local men do work in these logging camps quite a lot, but then the management and all that will be foreigners. Australians or Malaysians or something like that. And some of their friends might tag along or whatever. They just, I'm up here meandering around the forest doing whatever local girls do in the forest. And the reality is they're actually there because they know there's men with money in the logging camp. So as much as you may assume that they stay there, and the thing I said, well, the young girls, whether curiosity or really just knowledge that there's guys with money up there, they go up there and they start hanging around I mean, they live on the same island. You know, you can't not expect them to at times turn up to these logging camps, and you know, from there's a lot of older foreign men that like to mess around with these girls, but in a number of cases, there's actually some of the locals that are fairly hard up for money, and they have the hope that some of their financial situations may be eased, or they can afford to send their other children to school, or, you know, things might be, you know, they might be a bit better off if these young women go up there and, you know, do things with the older foreign men. In other words, that their own parents have got no trouble with them being used sexually by foreign men, and often enough there might be a bit of a, you know, it's basically they're prostituting out their own children. That's it, really. I mean, you know, never mind the fluffing around the point, that's pretty much what it is in some cases. But, you know, there's a chance that some of these girls either, you know, these guys, foreign guys who are managing the show up there, you know, might, you know, some of their workers, it's actually their daughter, or it may be, you know, their worker is the uncle of this girl or whatever, and they come to financial agreements, and sometimes it's not even financial agreements, sometimes it's goods, which may mean a lot of diesel or a lot of petrol or whatever, or, oh, well, I'll just write up that the, you know, bulldozer took this amount of diesel, and then there's 60 litres of diesel for you guys that magically just got written onto what the bulldozer consumed, you know, and stuff like that. It's not even actual cash sometimes. And there are times where these young girls are forced to marry some of these foreigners involved in logging. And I've seen a video of one there who was 16 years old and was, you know, ended up marrying one of these guys, and I would assume that she was forced to marry him by her parents, because that's often the case. Yeah, she used to get beaten up fairly badly. Well, no, I wouldn't say, I don't know about badly, but she got beaten up on a regular basis by this Malaysian guy, and then she found out she's pregnant. By the way, she's only 16 years old, and she was in tears, not because she was pregnant, but because she fully expected a Malaysian husband to fly back to Malaysia and just abandon her. And she was fearing the day, in her own words, she was scared that it was going to happen one day, and she never knew what day it was going to happen, but one day she just knew it was coming, that he was going to just get up and leave. And you think maybe she'd be more worried about the fact that she's pregnant and this and that, but, you know, she was basically just scared that she was going to be abandoned, and of course she would be abandoned with a child to have to bring up. Anyway, that's some of the stuff that happens in some of these joints, and according to this article, some of the girls are very young, and I get a feeling it may be actually under the age of 16 that some of them get married. Yeah, almost like 13, 14 or something. It didn't really give exact examples, but it's one of these situations that, you know, but in a lot of other countries it's like the parents wouldn't go with it, whereas this country, it is so poor that the parents actually do condone it, and sometimes the girl is not interested in the man, but the man is interested in the girl and says something to the parents, and they make a deal, and the girl is forced by the parents to marry some guy. So that's the situation there, but the average age of marrying over there is 25. And so I think it's one of these places where you would not find anyone age 30 that's not married unless they're like deformed or disabled or just something bad like that. Yeah, so I'll see how I go when I do go. But, you know, really speaking, I think you'd be battling to get anyone under the age of 27, 28, really speaking. You know, I definitely don't want anyone older than me. I don't exactly want a 14-year-old either. You know, because, well, you know, by Australian law, if a girl's under 18, she's not eligible to marry, and then, of course, not eligible for a partner visa. I've been looking into those visas a lot, and, yeah, it's, you would be shocked. To get a Filipino girl in, oh, shit, you can't believe how fucking easy it is, really. There's actually a couple of Aussies who run a migration agency over there, and I'm talking normal, average Joe white Aussies who are over there helping guys get their Filipino girls over. But I'm not interested in a Filipino. You know, Thai girls I might, but, you know, really not a Filipino. To me, they're just so plain-faced. It's just, oh, it's just, yeah. Black hair, brown eyes, flat, plain face. It's just not my thing. It's you know, I don't care what you think. It's not what floats my boat. It's, you know, not for me. Everybody else can, but to me, you look at that, it's almost like a lame ass cop out. I'm not saying all Solomon Island girls are nice, but just, ugh. I've never really gone for Asians, to be honest, at all, really. And some of the Japanese girls, you know, might be cute, but that's because they're all covered in makeup and stuff like that. And Japanese don't marry even less than, well, some of the least marrying in the world, actually, the Japanese. But yeah, one of these things, like, you can actually, I'm not joking, this is how they do it with the Filipino girls. They get a visitor's visa, like a tourist visa. And you're written in as the contact person, because you're sort of, often enough, you might or you might not need a contact person, but not always as a tourist, but they get a visitor's visa. And, you know, if they're coming over to visit their boyfriend, well, hey, it goes a lot smoother. So they get a visitor's visa, that's 3 months. Now, they get them over here, bang, married like literally the next day. Or not married the next day, they go and see the marriage celebrant the next day because you've got to give a month's notice. So they land here one night, the next morning you're off to the marriage celebrant, they've got to show their passport and you've got to show your form of ID, and bang, you've got to wait a month and then you can get married. And then as soon as you're married, you apply for what's called a partner visa, and that can last 12 months. Now, that does take like a good 6 weeks to process, so you can't leave marriage to the last minute. You've got to come over and go to the marriage celebrant straight up the first day, and then you basically, within a month, you can get married, and then you've got to apply for the partner visa pretty quickly because, you know, as I said, it takes about 6 weeks or more to process. You don't want her to have to fly over there and then, you know, have to fly back. It's more money down the drain, and you know, when she's here, like you've got her, and yeah, so they get 12 months out of those two combos, and then so your visitor's visa, like your tourist visa, and your partner visa is 12 months that'll buy you. Then you can try and have a shot at either another partner visa or probably try and go for permanent residency. You can't vote under permanent residency. You're not a citizen, but you keep your old citizenship and your old passport. I, as an Australian citizen, have an automatic right of entry or automatic right of re-entry into my country, but not being a citizen, they might have to sort of show that they're, you know, a permanent resident or something like that to re-enter. Once you're a permanent resident, you don't always necessarily have the absolute right to re-enter Australia, but things are a hell of a lot smoother than they'd otherwise be. And as I said, as a permanent resident, they can't vote, they can't join the police force, and they can't join the military. I think that's the other two. Not that that's going to be a problem with me. But anyway, or should I say with her. But anyway, yeah, it's very easy to deal with Filipinos, and even in Thailand, a Thai marriage certificate is fully recognised in Australia. But, you know, I'm not really into all that, and I'm going to see how I can go with the fuzzy wuzzy from the Solomon Islands. Another thing I should mention is that they had in this thing how girls get harassed, some teenage girls a bit funny in public about getting sexual harassment in public, but this happens all over the world. I thought, no, it doesn't. Some of them, they're pretty rough, with some of the stuff they do, Oh, well, some men flash themselves or they try and grape the girl and think, this doesn't happen to teenage girls here. But over there, there is funny stuff that sort of happens like that. Now, there's a very interesting one that you've probably never seen or even heard of that happens over there in regards to just, well, they refer to it as sexual harassment, and my mother faced it in, I believe it was the early 70s when she went to Papua New Guinea, and she walked past and a minute going, the men actually hissed at her, and she's turning around, looking at her like, what's this bullshit? She's just thinking, what are they even doing? And that's one of these sort of things they do. They actually hiss at women over there. And it mentioned it in this article on the Solomon Islands, because the Solomon Islands is only next door to Papua New Guinea. It's just east of Papua New Guinea. In fact, one of the islands that's geographically part of the Solomon Islands is actually politically part of Papua New Guinea, and that's Bougainville, which now has an autonomous government due to a colossal shitstorm over a gold and copper mine that ended in rebels and helicopters and a lot of shit going very bad, and a lot of people dying, mainly due to cut-off medical support, would you believe it? Anyway, enough about Bougainville. Because it's only next door, of course, there's a lot of things that are sort of similar. They speak Pidgin English in New Guinea, but it's a little bit different type of Pidgin English. But, yeah, my mum said she experienced it herself as a younger woman. They hiss at you. And they do the same in the Solomon Islands. You'd be walking down the street and it's like some sort, I don't know what it's supposed to symbolise, but it's some sort of a blooming sexual harassment thing. So they reckon. I don't even know what it's supposed to mean, and not that it's my mother, but it's one of the bizarre things they do that while staring at the young women. So it's just weird. But anyway, I'm going to see what I can do with these. This newspaper I've been dealing with, it's freaking hopeless. Don't even answer emails. So I've emailed another department, the customer service department, and said what's going on. And I may well just go with one of the other newspapers. Fuck them, but this is in an effort to try and get myself a local contact to try and set girls up who aren't bar girls, who aren't dodgies or 14-year-olds or anything like that. Sort of someone over there to A, find girls, B, pre-screen all the bullshit, the bar girls, the underage girls out. And give me a chance to get girls who have a bit more eligibility, so that I can just go over there for a meet and greet, not a wander around aimlessly, meet a bar girl and get ripped off sort of thing. So yeah.